Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. I am your host, Dougie Almeida. Welcome to the show. We have a great show today. A couple of my good friends in comedy and World Series of Comedy, not only alumni, but we have this year's winner, who happens to be my good friend. We're going to share some stories about. So let's just do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the World Series of Comedy main event winner, Mr. John Wynn, and often contestant, never big-time winner, Jim Barnes. What's up, fellas?
Nice. Hey, it's great.
Right?
How you doing, Doug? Yeah.
Way to rub it in, man.
Yeah, well, listen, I've been in the World Series of Comedy many years. I think Jim and I go back to the World Series of Comedy 6-7 years, whatever. And Jim was always that guy, like, oh fuck, he's on my show. You know what I mean? It's like he was, early in these things, like, oh, fucking Jim's on our show. God damn it. Okay, there's 2 spots. It's one of those things. And that's what's funny about those lineups. When you guys look at the lineup now, just real quick for the listeners and the watchers, World Series of Comedy contest spreads all over the country to various comedy clubs where there's satellites you can win and shit. And the main event cultivates in Vegas, 101 comics, and you basically go up and you're free, unless you're the newer comics go into a wild card round, 15 people doing 5 minutes. Good luck in that fucking show. But the other rounds are basically 8 or 9 comics doing 7 minutes. So that's the thing. You get that and you're like, all right, what do I do? Do I do my funniest jokes? Do I do this? Do I do that? What the fuck you wanted, John? What do you think you've mastered in this fucking game of the World Series of Comedy? What do you think you got? Because you were in the top 3 once.
Yeah, I think so. I've done it a lot too, right? I'm with you guys. I've done it many years. It was always kind of like a scratch. I always wanted to itch. I wanted to scratch something like that, right? And I think this year the biggest thing I did, man, for me, right? There's a part of you, I think, whenever you're doing comedy, right? You like, I just want to do the jokes that I also like, right? The jokes that So for me, can be a little bit dirty and kind of like kind of a little bit a little raunchy, a little bit. Mm-hmm. Nothing too aggressive, but try to But I think this year I really focused on. Because I noticed this was a new thing. They probably had the most judges, I think, per show that I've probably been a part of. So you knew there were going to be a wide variety of tastes and differences. Yeah. So I tried to keep it a little bit on the cleaner side. I used to do a lot of jokes. I was like, it's more feeding my ego of like, hey, man, I want to do this dirty joke. I want to show them how clever my joke writing is. And then sometimes it would kind of, might get a groan or it might split the room. And I think this time I kind of was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So I kind of tried to focus on just trying to be a little bit cleaner on some of the sets. So that was my new approach this particular season or year.
Well, obviously it worked. Jim, what kind of loser mentality notes do you think we could share with everybody?
Well, I'll tell you what I always admire in John's sets. We've done quite a few of these together. Is he's got laughs per minute. Not that's everybody talks about whether it's important or not. I just noticed John's jokes aren't just the jokes. There's quite a few tags which are getting big hits, and his stuff is well delivered and he's comfortable on all the hits, all the check marks. But especially when you open, man, it's like, I think you're opening a couple of the openers I usually see 2 or 3 tags right on it. I struggle with that because all my jokes are 21 seconds. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
And it gets little. So I do. That's a good. I'm influenced by that, and I've changed that in my stuff. I have some sections where they go real quick, but John's great at that. A lot of jokes. So when he gets on stage with the other contestants, a lot of laughs in John's set and great writing. So
yeah,
thanks, man.
Spoken like the loser.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, it is weird, and I think the clean thing is definitely a good thing. That is, without a doubt, if any comic needs to understand, if you want to get a broad base of work, and if you want to, at this point, you really have to. And and you're right. And I got okay with that until a little bit, and I was like, I had a couple jokes that are a little more edgier that I liked to tell, but nevertheless, it's a fun experience. I made the top 6 once, a top 12, whatever once, and all that kind of shit. And either way, it's like summer camp for us.
Yeah, it's a great hang, man. It was really, I hadn't seen Doug, and man, it had to be at least three years, because I hadn't done it the last few years, and I didn't do any satellites or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't know when the last time I saw you, Doug. I don't know if I was in Florida or not, but man, it was great to hang with you. And I just think, contests all are so subjective. It doesn't, in the end of, I'm happy I won. I put in lots of years in it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's not the end all be all of anybody's career or anything like that either. It's not going to make or break. It definitely helps and opens doors, looks great on a resume. And, I'm glad I have it under my belt. But I think at the same time, contests are so subjective, and you don't know the mood of one particular comic, the mood of the audience, the mood of the judges. Anything could shift that just a little bit. And so I just happened to get pretty lucky, and, was just kind of, was fortunate, you know what I mean? So it could happen. Yeah. It could be anybody's year,
I look at that World Series comedy season every year. This year especially, I did like 2 different things. Like the satellites for me are all about networking. I met both you guys, over the years. I met so many great people, and you get to be funny in front of the booker. Usually that's what it's about. But I sabotage every friggin' satellite set by doing stuff I want to do. I traveled all this way. I'm going to have fun. When it comes to the main event, I buckle down. I get serious. I work on my greatest hits, my new stuff that works, and really deliver. So it's like main event is time to, it's the friggin' contest. But and then you're, like you said, with all those judges, the farther you move up in the week, the higher chances are. It's just an opportunity to have a great set in front of people that matter, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the traveling around for me during the year is meeting people, hanging, having fun, and having fun on stage was more important to me this year than anything at the satellites. And then at the main event, it's a little different focus.
Speaking of that, by the way, speaking of decision satellites, I recall a satellite. I think it may have been a main event, Jim, that you thought you were thinking with your dick, and I think you flew home or something, and then
God.
you had a hard time getting back.
That was my year. It wasn't. I was thinking with my heart, Dougie. So quick story. We're in I don't know where we were. St. Louis.
It's like Kansas City was a shit one.
St. Louis. It was St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah. So I met this woman online. We've been talking. Blah blah blah. My show's Thursday. I killed it, and I go, I'm flying to Michigan. So I flew to Michigan. I tell everybody, don't worry, I'll be back for the. Then the semis and everything was on the same night, right? It was on Friday or whatever. So I flew there, had a great night, did the thing, woke up and my phone's going off all night. And I'm ignoring it because I'm a gentleman. I'm ignoring the phone. I wake up in the morning, there's 1,000 messages from American Airlines, all flights canceled. They've been trying to rebook me all night. And so I get up, long story short, I screw that. I did a whole different airline. Instead of going through Chicago where it was canceled, I went through Minneapolis, and I was going to make it within 20 minutes. I called Jason and Joe, the president and the vice president of World Series Comedy, said, I will be there in time for my show. I don't need the speech. I'll get there. And long story short, running through airports, sprinting through airports, got on the last plane. As they're shutting the door, I sit down in my seat. The light goes on. I go, I pulled this off. I'm like, I'm going to win. There's nothing. I'm king of the world. And it backed out 10 feet and stopped. And the guy came on the speaker and said, we got to switch planes or fix. It's going to be a few hours. So I had to call. I called Jason, said, hey, I can't take it. And I walked in. The show started at 7. I walked in at 7:30 and watched it. And
that was your year, buddy. That was the year. That was the year you were supposed to do it. But
John and I were on the
Jimmy,
semis, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
John and I were in the second round.
Me,
you, Jose Raymond, and Mike Paramore or something like, and I got second.
Yeah.
I'm going, no fucking, I shouldn't have.
Yeah,
I felt bad.
It was wild, man. I mean, I guess Jim. I mean, it was a casino, man. I think there are prostitutes there in the casino. So
that's what I'm trying to tell Doug. It was
two states away.
I met some sweet little thing that's northern part of the country that I like.
Sure.
Yeah. It was all about.
It's all about the dick, man. It was all. I just wonder if the person who ended up getting through. I don't remember who that was that time in your place.
Dale DeMont. Was it no? Dale, was it, no, it wasn't Dale. It was.
Was it the woman from California?
Oh no, it's Amanda. Yeah, Amanda got my spot.
Yeah,
and I've taken her spot. She's taken my spots. My first ever time making in the semifinals was because someone couldn't make it. Mm-hmm. So I paid it forward.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Just.
And then the story is, I walked. By the time I got there, and it was 7:00 show, some version of that story blew up so big. I got more attention, more bookings than if I would have made the show.
That's funny. And how great is that? Yeah.
I guess all of a sudden I was a favorite.
Parlor.
I was not a favorite, but by the time I got there, I was the favorite that missed it. So it's like that worked. That worked all right.
Yeah, he's walking in like a rock star with the smell of coochie on his dick. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, that was great. And I was surprised John won because John used to be this lovable, chubby guy who I would relate to. And now he comes in looking like fucking George Clooney from Korea. And, I'm just like, and I thought, okay, he's still fucking funny, even though he lost weight. It was congratulations on that. Okay. So that was a fun thing down memory lane. And, John and I, by the way, John, let me tell you as a friend, I love John because we've known each other. We've been through a lot. John and I, with one World Series of Comedy, we were at Caesar's Palace buffet. And we met Johnny Jr. I swear to God, we saw his doppelganger. Me, Gene Harding, Nandu, and I'm trying to remember who else was with us. And we saw little John. Yes, and that was funny. Then John and I. Here's the thing about John. I may have had COVID on Friday or whatever day it was when we were in Vegas. And I didn't feel good. I canceled everything and John, he's got to do his own shit. He decides to go with me to a buffet. We have to go back to a buffet, and I'm wearing a mask and I'm coughing all over the place. And John's just chatting no lie, talking, drinking in all the air. So God bless him for not worrying about getting COVID with me. All right, so let's get to let me ask you. First of all, let me ask you both. If the Russians are talking about a dirty bomb, how can you guys make dirty bomb funny?
Oh boy, Jim, your diaper.
Okay, well, so I knew that question was coming, so I Googled dirty bomb.
Yeah,
I found a couple things. One, there's never been one. There's never been a successful one. Supposedly some that didn't detonate. So that's funny. You could just fake a dirty bomb. And then second, if one does go off, I'm now on the list of people that Googled dirty bomb.
He's the suspect.
So that's because of you, Doug. I'm on a watch list now.
We're gonna show up on some January 6th hearing. Right. Two comics that lost at the World Series of Comedy.
Jim was on a plane. He was
Googling dirty bomb the day before.
On a plane. Now he's got a dirty bomb going on.
He's running through airports. We got all the evidence we need. That's funny.
Right.
John?
I really don't even know what a dirty bomb is. I'm assuming it's bad. But
two bad words in a row.
Yeah. I mean, I just assume, whenever I go to open mics, that's all I see are mostly just dirty bombs. There's like a lot of cursing, a lot of just bombing and stuff like that. But I don't know how it would make it funny, man. It does sound pretty scary, I guess, but I don't know. I thought my diaper joke for Jim was pretty funny. I thought that was a good one.
That's the way to go.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It is. Hey, man. Any idea of that term sounds bad.
It's just a weird word, like a combination of words. Dirty bomb. You know what I mean?
Is there like a bomb?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's like a bomb blows up and the bed's made. There's dust off the fucking the fan. What's a clean bomb? My mother was a clean bomb. Yeah, she said she'd clean everything.
Well,
right.
supposedly it's a regular bomb, but they put like uranium, plutonium in it, and and there's never been a successful one. I think people are just getting hired to make one, pocketing the uranium, plutonium stuff.
It's got like radiation. Right? It's got radioactive
yeah.
materials in it. Is that the idea?
Regular bomb, but then but it's never been. Yeah, it's never been done. But the week is young. It happened by the week.
It's basically not a nuclear bomb with a massive explosion, the heat that spreads throughout the world and fries people.
It's a baby nuclear bomb, essentially.
People in the surrounding area of a regular nuclear bomb lose as much weight as you did in the last 8-9 months, a lot faster. Number one, and but a dirty bomb, as Jim mentioned, it's basically a bomb that explodes an ordnance. In a sense, a ordnance that has dirty material of uranium and shit that spreads, and next thing you know, people are walking around watching their skin melt.
Oh man!
Much like most of the people in Florida in the summer. Why'd I leave Florida? All right. If you had a superpower, Mr. Winner, Mr. John Wynn, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Man, this was a good question because I debated between two. I always love the idea of flying because I live in Los Angeles. The traffic, I just think it would be so dope to just jump over that. And I don't know if I'd fly fast or not, but flying has always been one. And then of course the guy who stretches and makes things longer, because why not? And
we all know it's the Asian man would want to stretch.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was thinking, real quick, I think about the flying thing, right? And I think, okay, that'd be great because who wouldn't want to fly? I've had dreams of flying, but then you realize with weather, like let's say I go out and I'm wearing the shirt and the hat. I probably couldn't wear the hat when I went flying, but I'd probably take it off. And then next thing you know, you're in a thunderstorm. I don't know how well my body would handle a fucking thunderstorm. I'd have, what I mean? Flying. So I thought
you're allowed to land.
What's
you're
that?
allowed to land. You're allowed to land and walk in a restaurant. But the hat, I wouldn't fly.
You fly under a bridge.
Yeah. Hopefully not into it. But that's why teleportation to me would be great.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
That's good. No more flights. No more airplane flights.
Just get
you could have used that, huh, Jim? You could have used that night at the semifinals.
Teleport.
Hey, man, I'm getting.
And the stretchy thing.
I'm trying to get over it still.
I bet he. Do you? That's one question I want to ask you. Do you still think about it? Does it still come up in your foot? Oh, okay. All right. Well, we know why you missed it. It was well worth it. It worked out for you, buddy. By the way, whatever happened to this young lady? Whatever happened to her?
Man, I'm losing the connection. I got to go.
All right, let's move on. By the way, Jim, what's your superpower? What would you want to do?
My first one I thought was flying, right? Then I read it different, like what would be like if you didn't have to choose one. I go, so it was interesting that first flying, you had stretching, I had shape shifting, right? Wouldn't that be good to become? Then you could still be creative, still make it funny. Hey, look, I'm a coffee table, just like become something else. But I can't even do impressions. So
I think that's Caitlyn Jenner, right? I think
shape shifting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, in some way.
But you could shapeshift. But both. I mean, you could shapeshift back.
Oh, so you would like to be a Wonder Twin, like a shape of a water buffalo, right?
That's
pretty cool.
Turn into anything. You could, it's like being invisible, but you are something. You're in the room, but you're the dog. Yeah. You're the couch.
Yeah. Because invisible is a good one too. Most people think about being invisible, which I think would be
right.
I'm so fat though, I wouldn't be. People would still hear me. People would be like, "What the fuck is in this room?"
There's not one of us. There's not one of us that doesn't need more attention than that, Doug.
Yes. Yeah. Can you imagine being the first invisible comic? Yeah.
Believe me.
All right, moving on.
I've been on shows where no one. Yeah, it was like I didn't exist. It's totally cool. I get it, man. Totally bomb. Terrible.
All right, next question. Let me ask you, Dr. Fauci, good guy or bad guy? What do you guys think?
Tough, man, because I think I don't. It's one of those things, right? Like it's like the last few years, not great. You know what I mean? Not great, but he's put in a lot of years where I never heard of the guy before. You know what I mean? He must have done something right. He was under some different president.
50 years in, yeah. 50 years in, 80 years old, killing it.
This
goes by one name.
This whole
like
thing,
Elvis, yeah.
But this last whole thing was just all around the scientists, the news, the government. It was just all around bad, man. I mean, and even even we had a new administration the first year or whatever last year. You know what I mean? It's still the same. It's this. It was just this amazing, which is scary, man. Like who can? It's all about who controls information. I mean, that's right, the scary thing to me. Who controls the information? Because like even now, there's a lawsuit with the big tech and the government. Like, I mean, deciding what was said or not, and then it's also this new world where everybody feels like they have an opinion and they can just jump in. But then how do you choose what's the right piece of information? Yeah. What's the science information? What's the and it's just, and this was just so challenging, man. But I think, I mean, anytime anything is extreme, I think is bad either way. And I mean, like locking down for 2 years, not good, but walking around breathing on people, I get too. I mean, so, it was a tough thing, but at the same time, it was just like the information from the government, and it was just bad. It was all weird, man. It is scary. It's scary though, right? What happens in a disaster, right? What happens in the next disaster, But so I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say purely bad guy, but I would just definitely say, man, why did he say certain things and then backtrack? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Just give us the facts.
Maybe not bad guy, more like bad actor.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it from his point of view. 50 years in a government job, and then right before you go out, you're famous, right? It's like he's 82 years old. He's fit. He goes by one name, like Elvis. Everybody knows who Fauci is. He could have retired and just been. No one knew. I had 50 years in this friggin' job, and no one cares, and no one remembers me. So he's got that.
Isn't that how you want to go out? You want to go out where you can write a book. Oh, he's got. You know what I mean? That's the other side to it, right? Like, I mean, he didn't make any real money until the last 3 years, and now he can write a book. He could probably be a movie made about him or something. Who knows, man?
Well, he completely failed at TV. He did not come over well on TV. He's not really doing a lot of those appearances anymore. And his day is, the final word on Fauci is still out there to be determined. One way or the other. But, one thing I'll definitely agree with you, John, is in times of crisis, it's hard for me to criticize those on the front line. And I felt that way about Trump, dealing with the pandemic. I, overly criticized. I don't like when people on the armchair that not in the position, especially as a fighter, as a fighter, people always say, oh, if I was fighting, no, if you were fighting, you were probably to close. 90% of people who get into a fight close their eyes at the first punch. So let's just put that in perspective when it comes to tough guy mentalities and handling things. So, so when it comes in times of crisis, I'm not the first to criticize or be the one to criticize those on the front lines of the crisis. So giving him that, but then when everything kind of like he lost me when he said he's science. That was it for me. That's when he became a bad guy to me. That's when he started making excuses and moving on. The same thing about Bill Gates. And real quick, I mean, Bill Gates, good guy, bad guy.
Boy, that's a tough one, man. Because I think he has a charity that gives a lot of money, but I mean, it is amazing. Like there's two sides to it, right? Here's a guy who started probably out of his garage, started a company out of his garage, right? And so you gotta go like, hey, man, the guy put in his time, put in his work, he developed something. He was, technologically advanced. He figured out how to create a business from this. But then, then it comes down to like, man, should there be regulatory, how much regulation? So I teach a film class, right? It's very similar to like film, right? When film first started, there's no regulation. You do whatever you want. 50 years ago, do we know we're going to all have computers and be joined by it and have a network? And no one knows, right? We don't know. And what you could put on this network and this it's the Wild West, essentially, right? The internet is still the Wild West. There's no regulation. As much as we believe censorship, but there's really, you can find whatever you want to find on the internet somehow. You know what I mean? So it's tough. So again, I don't know, man. I want to say good guy, bad guy, because I feel like, hey, man, here's a guy who worked hard. Probably he does have a charitable thing. The thing with me is I don't really know that much, but I don't really hear about him in the news. Is that bad? I mean, all I read is that when, like the whole Epstein thing and like the divorce.
By the way, let me just make a quick observation. Jim, you'd mentioned something about John's comedy where he's definitely laughs per minute. He definitely doesn't have the laugh per minute when it comes to explaining good guy, bad guy.
He's talking like a winner. He has a reputation now. I haven't won yet. I can say whatever the fuck I want.
I'm playing it safe, guys. I'm playing it safe. You guys are going to lose your jobs, but
with club bookers going, cancel, get rid of.
Hold on.
I'm playing it safe. I'm playing it safe.
It's somebody else. It's somebody else.
Yeah.
I got that black bar over my face. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah,
unknown podcaster. Yeah. Bill
Gates, Fauci, and John Wynn both all of a sudden are in the limelight.
Hey, we're all great guys. We're all great guys.
Yeah, they John Wynn, Dr. Fauci, and Bill Gates are all have front seats in the modern day ark that's going to leave this earth when the asteroid hits. It's those three.
I love it. I'll take it.
Yeah, you're on the boat, man.
Right.
All right. Well, this might be an answer for Jim already, but what bad decision did you make and what did you learn from it?
Man, you know what? I think I'm in denial, which I fucking love being in denial. I don't remember too many constant bad decisions, but they're nothing with repercussions. Really, they're a little. And what I did learn is the big ones don't ever bring up again, especially in a setting like this, because if you got out of them, just let it die. If you made it through, if you made some bad decisions that could have went bad but didn't, don't bring it up on a podcast.
Yeah, the truth.
Yeah. So I make mistakes all the time, but I got no one to answer. I know this would come up. So I'm older than you guys. My parents are gone. I don't have a boss. I don't have a wife. I have no one to answer to. So I make bad decisions all the time, and there's no consequence. There's no one watching. I go home, everything's fine.
We gotta find Jim a chaperone. Otherwise, it's just gonna end up falling off a bridge. John.
Boy, this is a good one. I mean, I like this question a lot because I've made some bad mistakes, and I have one in particular that was really bad. I mean, I went and did an audition, unfortunately, and it my feet got filmed, and it was a bad situation. But I feel like I could get a really good bit out of it. And the only thing that I regret about it is that it turns out this person is like, they do it over and over and over again. And that clubs still book this person, which is unfortunate because you see a lot of these clubs, they claim to be like super, very progressive and like very, woke, and we won't have these. They make it a big deal to be like, hey, we support, we don't want predators at our clubs.
It's one thing if something happens to. It's one thing, John, if something happens to a woman, like a fragile person, but when something happens to an Asian man and his feet, who gives a fuck?
It's right. Who cares? It's supposed to be funny. That's why I got to get a bit out of it. If I don't get a bit out of this is not good. And so I got to get something out of it. So definitely, I've learned my lesson. Don't trust any comic. That's the fact that I'm doing this right now is you're very fortunate.
Oh, by the way, surprise! Here's a picture of John's feet.
We've been filming your feet this whole time. I got like 4 pairs of socks on, guys. So it doesn't.
I don't even see your face. Ben set this up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready. I got all these socks on. I'm ready, man. Doesn't matter.
That's awesome. Great way to put that fucking story, by the way. Mine simply was I didn't go to major colleges with soccer scholarships just because of a woman that lived in Florida, and I didn't want to go that far. So I would regret.
So you stayed in Florida. Give an example of a college that tried to recruit you.
Indiana University, Appalachian State, Northeastern.
These were full ride scholarships?
Some have, some some money there, some grants and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, that pussy's just too good. Can't go that far. And then of course I met other pussy and went, that pussy wasn't that great. It's like, Jim knows. So, all right. Question in lieu of James Corden. This is a great question. Have you ever been punched, or have you ever punched anyone? Jim?
So only time I've been punched was in boxing gloves, right? And it was just as a kid where we, YMCA, we had boxing, and that was great. But I went through about a year where I was punching people. You know what I mean? And that's just what not many, like 3. And one was, I remember this fight, and I remember this one where I go, I shouldn't have punched him that quickly. But that was the only time in my life, like 13 years old. And it might have been a little earlier than that where we were at the YMCA doing the boxing. So maybe it was a carryover. But no. So I've thought a bit about punching people because one was a friend, one was I was the hero, and one was I shouldn't have done. But getting punched, no, other than 12 years old with boxing gloves.
Oh, that's what Jim needs, a good fucking punch.
Right? Hey, but I'm a comedian. It could happen soon.
Yeah. How about Ariel, that comedian? I don't know if I met her, Ariel, who got the beer can thrown at her. She was on
I saw that.
Jimmy Kimmel on Monday night. Yeah, that was great. I mean, what an opportunity, when things like that happen.
She handled it really well. I mean, that was she could have gotten really mad just picking up the beer and drinking it was smart.
Yeah,
smart thing
that was great. Hopefully the guy doesn't have herpes and shit,
That's the only negative, right?
He just got done eating his girl's ass. Because that's what they do. I guess so much for this being on Disney Channel this week. All right. John, you've been punched?
Yeah, I have an older brother. He's about 7 years older than me. So just growing up, we had disputes, and then my 20s, we had a couple of blowout fights. So, he's my brother. I love him. But yeah, you just get those moments where you're kind of like, I'm not the little kid anymore. I'm actually bigger than you, right? So I can fight back a little bit. So it's kind of like it's a lot of pent up rage, I guess But yeah, so for sure, we definitely went at it and threw punches and stuff like that. And so I wouldn't say it's any kind of classical formal fighting, you know what I mean? But we you just go at it and you're swinging, taking massive swings.
Too bad you guys didn't record that, because you'd both be like, I win, me win, you win. You're fucking fighting your brother. That's great. Jim?
And I read that question I took that question as in the face or head too. Being punched elsewhere, yeah. But I always think we get punched, you always picture a face punch, right? Or head punch.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point. As somebody who would want to make a point, and it was in martial, because you mentioned, bro, I had 3 older brothers, so that we were all in martial arts, all Bruce Lee movies and shit, wow. And we all trained and stuff. And there was a day, out of all my brothers, I was the biggest. Eventually, I reached that point in my teens where they were messing with me, and I hit my brother one time, and he looked at me like, "Oh shit." My days of pushing around Dougie are over. Absolutely. I've been punched many people many times. That's why my neck is fucked up.
But you were a fighter, so that had just even formally, you've done a lot of punching and getting punched. Yeah, crazy, man.
Yeah, but I liked when you get into it with somebody, it's always good to punch them right in the chest. It takes the wind out. They get a real good understanding. It's like a stun gun in Star Trek. You just fucking and oof. I don't know if I want to get hit again. Maybe we'll be nice. Be nice as what's his name said in Roadhouse. All right. In lieu of this is a quick question because we're going to roll to the shore. Have you been banned from kicked out of a restaurant in lieu of James Corden being kicked out of that New York restaurant? Have you ever been kicked out of a bar or a restaurant? You ever been unruly?
I never have. I pretty much play ball, man. So I mean, I vomited profusely on a New Year's Eve at the Comedy Store. I think I was in the bathroom for I just locked myself in there. I was I think I passed out and woke up on the floor and just was vomiting. And I vomited maybe 2 feet away from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was watching me puke in the corner. But I didn't get kicked out though, but it was not good.
That's a credit.
Yeah,
believe me, I'm using it. It goes right under World Series of Comedy. Vomited 2 feet away from Joe Rogan.
That's perfect. All right. I'm going to skip through one of these two, but I don't know if you guys heard, but Kanye West in our new segment, did you hear? Kanye West says Quentin Tarantino ripped off the Django movie, and it was his idea. Do you believe him?
I'm just surprised.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead. I'm just surprised whoever wrote that article probably got fired because that's what they picked that Kanye said this week, right?
Out of all the things.
Like, how'd they come up? Like, dig up something new, I guess, was the assignment, because that's the lightest weight thing he said in the last month. But no, I don't believe it, because it was Kanye, October 2022. We will look back on it as a snapshot of his life.
Yeah, he basically said the idea of Django I pitched to actor Jamie Foxx and Quentin Tarantino as a video for Gold Digger, which was one of his songs. Yeah, there's so much things going. I think Adidas finally has severed his relationship with them, and it's just amazing to watch somebody self-destruct.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So quick too, right? I wonder. I really do wonder if this dude, requires like a little bit of medication or something like that. You know what I mean? Like he's just off. Maybe he's off his meds or something. Like, I mean, I don't want to, make it seem like I'm, kind of shaming any part of the population. But I mean, I feel like, man, and the fact that he must have management or somebody, right? Kind of like,
yeah, well,
booking him on these shows, right? I mean, there's got to be some other person that's kind of intermediary that's kind of. I mean, surely they're like, hey, maybe we'll just take a break. We'll just hang out at the house and just swim at the pool for a couple of days and just chill
like
out.
Jenga.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, we're hoping it's a strategy to be controversial, and it started with the Taylor Swift thing, and he's never. It's always helped him rise in the spotlight when he's done this stuff, but this was over the edge, and we're hoping it was just a bad strategy decision and not something going on mentally that's we're going to spiral even farther.
Yeah, all white lives matter, and then of course the anti-Semitic comments were definitely that. I apologize too, Ben. I did skip, but I'm skipping that story about these people that did fucked up things. Like for example, Lindsay Lohan was banned from a hotel for not paying her $46,350 bill, and who doesn't have a bill like that?
Wow.
Yeah, because we're worried about James Corbin, Ruby Rose. Yeah, exactly.
Only three people can't go back there. I read the article. Are her, Brittany, because she smeared food all over her face, and then John Belushi. 3 people that's a bad.
Was it over? Was it over when the Germans put food all over their face? God, I miss John Belushi. Yeah. Oh my God. You see a picture of Madonna. It's like, Martin Lawrence was rumored to be banned from SNL after going off script in his monologue where he shared his opinions of women's hygiene and genitalia.
I remember watching that, and then they never rerun it. They never showed it again.
It's never on again. Jamie Foxx was kicked out of a restaurant in West Hollywood after he attacked another customer.
Maybe it was Kanye.
Yeah.
No, you read that article, and I think
pitching the story.
It's pretty vague. His entourage was attacked by another one. Another one said something to him like, "I'm from New York. You don't scare me." Jamie's entourage says, "We're from Oakland," and it was on.
Yeah. So, I remember being at Nikki Beach in South Beach, and me and my buddies, who happened at the time to be drug smugglers and gun runners, there was like P. Diddy and his crew were there, and my buddy from Sweden, there's like a table in the middle between the tents and everything where people just getting food, and P. Diddy grabs a bun, and my buddy Rick goes, "Those buns aren't so puff, Daddy," and it started a fight, and it was memorable. I try to keep that out of the news. Russian mothers are turning deadbeat fathers over to Putin. Can you imagine? This is fucking great. Oh no, you don't pay your child support. You're going to Ukraine. Wow, ruthless. Jim, have you ever dated a? Yeah, that's right. How fucking ruthless. Like, oh, I got you now. Jim, have you ever dated a Russian woman?
that would probably stop a lot of deadbeat dads, though, right? I mean, like, hey, you have to enlist and go to war. You're like, well, listen, I was married to this lady. That sounds way better than I'll go to war. That sounds okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking, I don't know if it's a good idea. She sends him off, then she's never going to get paid.
Right.
Then she's going to be dead. Hey, Jim, have you ever dated a Russian woman?
No, but it's, if they go to my website, there's an email, there's a sign. I do respond to all emails. Google translates.
Oh man! And the last thing, did you hear? The Mississippi River is very shallow. A lot of people aren't worried. People talk about Vegas and the shortages of water and you guys on your end of the country over there on the West Coast, but where barges are bottoming them out, and people worry, wonder, hey, everything's cool where I'm at, but you never know where this shit's going to hit you.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's scary, dude. It is weird, right? I don't know. It feels like it does. This drought. It's a drought here. So it's the first time since I've been here. They told us, we can only water our plants like every other day. Depending on your address number, like odd numbers on this day. So it's the first time I've experienced that. So it's scary because then if there's like a fire or something like that, then it's like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of intense, man. It's wild stuff, dude.
I don't know how anybody could stay in Vegas. Vegas has a lot of challenges when it comes to that. You watch what's going on there, and you're like, "Fuck it." You're not that far away from a dead. It's already dead pooled. It's just amazing. How quickly the mass migration of people. What happens. Now with that Hurricane Ian, there's a lot of people that move to Florida. They're going, "Fuck this."
Right.
I'm going to go somewhere in the Midwest and just stay out of South Carolina. We got enough people here. We like our little spot here in Greenville area. All right. It's time to play Let's Associate. This is a new thing. It's kind of fun. I play armchair psychologist. I'm going to give you guys a word. Let's see, time wise, we're good. We got about some time to do this. And, the first thing that comes to mind, story, expression, joke, do anything you want with the word. But who wants to go first? Who wants to be first? It's
John wants to go first.
John, the
I'll
winner.
Go first. Sure.
Winner, chicken dinner. John Wynn, your
Notice
first
he didn't
word.
say it had to be funny. He said it didn't have to be funny, so that's good. That takes a lot of pressure off.
Right. Well, that's what you're going to do. Don't all right. Your first word, John, is fearless.
Oh boy. What do I think of fearless, man? I don't know. I think of a movie. There's a great movie that inspired me to go to film school. It's called Fearless. That's what I think of. It starred Jeff Bridges, about a guy who survives an airplane crash. It's not funny, but it's a great movie, man. If you've never seen it, it's an awesome movie. It's about, trying to embracing death. And probably not good to see it when you just get dumped, though, like I did. But yeah, it's a good movie.
So that was part of your inspiration,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, fearless. All right, you ready for your first word, Jim?
Yes.
Firework.
Was that Katy Perry or Miley? Miley, right?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, yeah.
All right.
Why do we know that? That's not good.
Number one, baby. I have my kids are 24 and 27. So a few years ago, friggin' Katy, Miley. I'm a believer. All those folks.
Good for you. And yeah, the first thing when I think of firework, I think of Katy Perry's titties. That's just.
There you go.
If that was you, so you and I have a lot more in common besides being losers.
You're just more focused.
I
was more big picture Katy Perry, and you were more this area.
Yeah. I was more pervert. I was more perv. I was more pervert. Yeah. All right, John, your second word is prank.
Prank. Oh, that's what happened with my feet, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's supposed to be, but it turned into some other terrible compulsive nightmare. So yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
John, I have to ask you a question. You and I have had this thing. At what point during that experience did you look at yourself and go, "Wait a minute, what am I fucking doing?" Like
it had to be at least 2 to 3 minutes into it. 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, after getting all the preamble and what it was and all that stuff, I actually believed it. I believed it. I thought, I was just brand new. I was pretty new to comedy. So, the person's like, I'm going to take you on the road with me. You excited about that, man. You know what I mean? So I was like, and then it was a big leap. And then I was like, okay, this seems weird. But so I don't know if it was that long after once I started like participating. Right. And then I was like, okay, that's it. I was like out of there. But yeah, I know. I should have known better. Believe me. Believe me. I know. That's why it's my big mistake.
Well, like I said to you earlier, I never judge those who are on the front line of a crisis situation. You know what I mean? Everybody handles that shit differently. All right, Jim, your second word is poke.
Poke salad Annie.
Poke salad
Tony
Annie.
Joe White. Yeah, Tony Joe White. Yeah, it's a great song.
With the, oh, okay.
1971. You don't know that song? Oh man, watch the video. Nope. He killed it, dude. The Southern dude with a Stratocaster singing Poke Salad Annie. Probably 71, 72. Wow. Great song. One of the all-time greats. You got to look at it.
I'll check that out. John, your third word. John, your third word is cool.
Cool. Oh, that's easy, man. Just me, dude. I'm just cool customer, dude. I just think of myself, dude. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you ask me to audition for TV show. I'll be like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Every time I think of cool, I think of our good friend Tim Hanlon.
He's cool.
Yeah, cool dude. All right. Okay. Well, this is odd. We brought this up. I don't know if I'm a bit psychic, but Jim, your fourth word is prostitute.
Dougie, I think of Doug Almeida.
Dougie. Well, he got poke and prostitute.
I got poke and prostitute. Yeah. And Katy Perry and then prostitute.
Is the fourth word Viagra?
Fourth word credit card.
All right, cash. Prostitute. All those things come to mind. All right, John, your fourth word is nudity.
Oh boy. First thing, boy. That's tough. I think that's the thing I would always look for in the TV guide when I was a kid to want to watch the movie. Like they put the little in, right? Nudity. I'd always think nudity, and then
I never did that.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, whenever we'd stay we didn't have cable. We didn't have HBO, and we'd house sit sometimes for these people, and then they had HBO, so I'd jump on HBO. And of course, it was always like male nudity. They don't differentiate between male or female. They just put nudity, and then you're like, oh, this is a war movie.
HBO was progressive.
You were targeted at a young age, John. You were targeted at a young age. I understand that. I remember. What you just said associated with me. I remember when people started getting cable, and you'd have that big dark black cable that'd be hanging from the telephone wires, and it would stretch to neighborhood to neighborhood, and you're like, I can't wait to get it. And then you'd get it, and the cable guide would say nudity, and you're like, oh my God. And then it would say sexual content. And I remember the first movie I saw on HBO, I think it was, that had sexual content was Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Oh, wow. That's Charles Grodin, right? Is that?
I remember she ends up getting raped and killed at the end because she's got a sexual thing, and that was my first. Movie, yeah. Looking for Mr. Goodbar. I'm trying to remember the actress's name. Big movie. All right, where was I at? Where was I? Oh yeah, John. Back to John. Predictable.
Boy, first thing I think of predictable. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have one for that one. Predictable. I don't know. I think I'm predictable. My jokes. I think my jokes are predictable.
No, they're not predictable. No, they're unpredictable.
When I write them, I think that. But yeah,
that's funny. But not funny enough to continue talking about. Jim, your next word is hate. Is hate.
Is what? Hate?
Hate.
With an H. Hate. I don't, honest to God, I don't think I've ever hated anyone.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's like a waste of time. I'm too self-centered for that bullshit. That'd be about them, right?
Yeah.
I need it to be about me. And if I'm hating someone, it's not about me. Like a waste of time. I ain't got that much time left.
When I think of hate, I think about biting into a popcorn kernel. That hate. I hate that.
I hate that. You're right.
I hate
you.
when I hate when you want more popcorn and you keep pulling up shit that's breaking your teeth. I hate when that shit happens. All right. And our last word for each, John, pretend.
Pretend. Boy, that's, man, the first thing I can think of, pretend. I think for me, man, I don't know. I think for me, honestly, when I think of where, like when you first start stand up, right? It's like a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of like that, you know what I mean? Just the networking and then being comfortable who you are on stage. Like first you kind of, you know, you fake it till you make it type thing. I think when I think of pretend, like I used to, you know, you become closer to who you are as a person, I think, when you're on stage. The longer you do it, when you're first starting, it's great to get those laughs, but then you're kind of like, oh, you're not really who you are yet. Even you might be really funny. You're not quite who you are yet. And that takes time, I think. So for me, when I think about pretend, I think about when I first started, I wasn't really who I was, you know what I mean? Kind of was doing whatever I could, people pleasing a little bit and showing my feet to people, you know, that kind of thing.
He's got to let that shit go.
Ahead.
It's going to be on John's tombstone.
I thought this was like a Zoom therapy.
Oh my God. I think that's a great point too about the comedy, right? Because I remember when I first started, I was accused of basically, and I was recognized that I was performing. You know what I mean? Like I was more of a performer as opposed to just bullshit, right? Like I'm performing shit, you know, which was interesting, very similar. And all right, Jim, your last question is dancer.
Ooh, dancer. Yeah, I'm a horrible dancer, man. But I met this old guy at the bar. I was with my daughter at Dan Tana's. You been there? Old time bar on just below Sunset next to Santa Monica. Now it's a lot of showbiz people, famous people come through. I sat next to this guy that was 80 years old, and we talked for a while. And I wish I remembered his name. But he was a dancer on Broadway and everywhere else his whole life. And he was just this fit, old, fun, healthy guy having a drink at the bar at 80, and he just had this energy. So you know, dancers are so athletic. Oh my God, right?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't think. I would never would have thought you would have said an 80-year-old man for dancer. I just that's wild, man.
I remember that conversation, and my daughter was with me, and you know, it was just a great time. And he might not have been 80, 75, but it was. I don't know if you've been to Dan Tana's, but it's great to go. There's usually something, you know, ran into T.I. and Tiny last time we were there, and I've seen people walk out. It's a local, and I'm always there. I'm always careful. Like I don't belong here, but I'm just going to sit and observe, have dinner, sit at the bar, and met a great guy that night. And he reminded me of you know, Fred Astaire, one of those guys, like old school dancer, just fit and flexible, which I'm neither. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a good memory. Thanks for that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you got it. That's the idea of our segment. Let's associate words and phrases that bring up all kinds of things, right? And where we're going, what we do. But that's all we have time for here on the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. And I thank, of course, Jim Barnes and John Wynn for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, Doug. Appreciate it, bud.
You got it. And by the way, Jim, what's coming up? You want to plug?
Thursday night, JH Comedy in Lancaster at Big Shots Bar and Grill. I do John's show at Pocock in a few weeks. Heading out on a cruise Saturday. Write jokes every morning. Drink Mai Tais, hit the sauna, repeat.
Nice plan. Johnny?
You know, I run a weekly show at a place in Santa Clarita every Tuesday night, and then I kind of a light calendar, man. To be honest, November I got a couple of headlining dates, which is cool, but like, you know, weeknight off nights and stuff like that. But kind of hopefully getting everything ready. I'm trying to put a big run together. I'll probably be in Florida in January doing a little run, so that's kind of the goal right now. So, but yeah,
awesome.
Nothing major coming up.
Awesome. Well, let me know if you're going to be there in February. If you're going to be there in February, I can have you do Tavolino's and Club Bremen on Wednesday, Thursday. So
you do. You're doing two places. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, I'm right here listening to you book John. I'm just right.
Well, I'd love to book you, Jim, but I'd hate you run out of town to go fuck some little Russian hooker, dancer, and stripper, and miss my gig. It's hard to change your stripes,
No,
buddy.
learn that. That was one of your questions. I learned from that.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. By all means, if you happen to want to come to Florida, you'd be definitely getting the same spot if John first right of refusal. Nice. But stick around for a second. You guys want to say goodbye to everybody. But hey, that's it. That's another wrap up show. We appreciate you guys sticking around. We didn't have a couple shows for a couple weeks. I was traveling. But I believe we'll be back next week with an all new show. And if you are in the Detroit area in Michigan, I will be at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle this Thursday through Saturday. Come out, go to DougieAlmeida.com for more dates. Aside from that, God bless you guys. Live your day like it's your last. Enjoy, be respectful, add value to everybody's life with yours. And don't be so critical. Life's tough. See you next time here at the same spot.